If you're looking for a fun spring wreath that can also be an Easter wreath, come along and check out the wreath that I have for you today. This can be used for spring, Easter, and many other holidays in this nice weather. In the description, you'll find some of the links to the products that I used. All of this stuff was found at the Dollar Tree, so make sure you check it out and see what they have for this spring. Hey guys, and welcome to my channel where we do DIY projects, crafts, and some organization, but all on a budget. Come along and check out our fun spring wreath today. What you're going to need for today's craft is a wreath frame from the Dollar Tree, some flowers from the Dollar Tree, and some twist ties, whether it be floral twist ties or another kind of twist ties. I also like to have hot glue handy. Oh, and some colored burlap ribbon. I started by taking off the tags. Here you can see I had a little bit of trouble, but it's not a problem. If the flowers come off when you're taking the tags off, you can just stick them right back on. So the first thing I did when I put the flowers in the frame is I tried putting the whole stem in and bending it up and around the frame. This method could work, but I did find it kind of difficult and there was a lot of looseness, so I would have had to use a lot of twist ties in order to hold everything tight. I decided to try another method. What I decided to do on the second attempt was take a stem of the flowers and cut it into the individual pieces and weave those individual pieces around. I really liked this method because it allowed for, when I put more flowers in, to keep it a lot more sturdy, and it gave it that thickness and that tightness when putting more in. Once I had a little bit more structure to my wreath, I was able to add them using the whole stem of flowers. I kind of rotated back and forth between these two to get the sturdiness and then to add them in. I would put them in where there wasn't as much room because I knew it would hold it tighter and I wouldn't have to use as much of the floral twist ties. When you have the stem in where you want it, you can kind of fluff your roses or your flowers and make them go a little bit more the direction you want to. You can also bend them a little bit or weave those individual flowers in and around the different wires that are part of the wreath frame. Before I put the flowers into the wreath frame, a lot of times I would hold it up to see where they were going to land and if I liked where they were going to land and how they landed. You can kind of situate this a little bit before, and then you can also see where you're going to plan on bending your flower stems. If you have a spot that is staying loose or not staying quite as close to the wire as you would like it to, your wreath frame, go ahead and use some floral wire or small pieces of a chenille wire. That way you can wrap it around. It'll be on the inside or the back side of the wreath, so nobody will know the flowers or decorations that you're putting on your wreath frame will still stay where you like them. When I would use the wiring to hold the flowers close to my frame, I would tend to weave it in and out of the wiring. That way I felt like it gave it a little bit more structure and it held it a little bit more sturdy. I found it very easy to work with these flowers from the Dollar Tree because there is a small wire within the stem of each flower, so you can situate them a little bit more of where you planned on having each flower on the wreath. After I had all the flowers where I wanted them, I used this pink burlap from the Dollar Tree for the next part of my wreath. I simply started by taking some of my floral wire, taking several small strips that I would eventually put through the burlap onto the wireframe of the wreath. This would hold it in place since I didn't have my hot glue gun warmed up yet. I took the colored burlap through the far end of the wreath frame and I folded it over on itself. Then I took my small pieces of the floral wire and I put it in between the little holes that are created by the burlap. I put it around the wire and I tightened it. I did this 3 times so that it would be held securely when I started wrapping the burlap in and around the wreath frame. Once I knew that was securely around the outside wire, I started weaving the burlap in and around each piece of wireframe. I did hold my finger in the middle just so I still had the volume up at the top with the burlap. When I was done with the first roll of burlap, I squished it all as tight as I could, and I took it to the back and put some hot glue on the wire and the burlap. This helped from keeping the previous burlap from moving down when I put the next set of burlap on. For the second roll of burlap, I used the tape that came on the burlap to hold it in the circle, the cylinder form, and I put it around the wire, and then I put hot glue over that to kind of help it melt down together. This gave it a little bit more stability, and I was able to weave it back and forth just like I previously had. You do have to be a little bit careful because the other rounds of burlap can get in the way. You just have to make sure you're pulling them out of the way and tucking it up in between the wires. To secure the burlap in place when I was done, I once again flipped the wreath upside down, put a little hot glue on the end, folded everything together, and then put some hot glue on the wire as well as the burlap to keep everything in place from slipping and sliding. I also added a few more single flowers just to finish off the piece and make it exactly what I had been thinking of. And here's the spring wreath. Flower-filled spring wreath with a little bit of colored burlap. This can be left as is and used for the spring, or you can decorate it up a little bit more. The Dollar Tree has these cute butterfly decorations you could add. They also have this bird. They come in several different colors. There's other types of birds too that aren't as extravagant. Or right now, since today is Easter, we could use these little eggs. I took the eggs and just weaved them through the burlap or the flower stems, getting them where I wanted them. Then you can see there's the stem in the back. You can just trim that off afterwards. Or you can cut them ahead of time and just nicely stick them in wherever you'd like. I would advise putting a little bit of hot glue on the back, that way they won't flip out as easy, and also if they stick out in the back, they won't scratch your wall. Here is the finished spring Easter wreath for this holiday. It was all stuff from the dollar store. I did add a little ribbon at the top to make it a little easier to hang. This is not a necessary addition. I also put in one of the butterflies at the bottom of the wreath. Everything is from the dollar store, including the hot glue that was used. I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye!